Life is an endless garden, and you are both the gardener and the soil. What you feed grows. This simple truth governs everything you experience, yet so many people live as if it were optional. Every thought you entertain, every habit you nurture, every relationship you tend, and every skill you practice follows this law. It doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, or how much talent you have. What you feed will grow, and what you neglect will wither. Consider your mind. The ideas, knowledge, and perspectives you expose yourself to are the seeds planted in the fertile soil of your consciousness. If you allow negativity, doubt, or laziness to dominate, you are watering weeds. Those weeds will grow silently, choking your creativity, confidence, and clarity. But if you feed your mind with books, positive thoughts, meaningful conversations, and deliberate reflection, you cultivate wisdom, insight, and solutions. Your mind becomes fertile ground for opportunity, innovation, and success. Your body obeys the same law. Food, movement, rest. These are the nutrients that determine whether your body thrives or declines. Neglect it with poor diet, inactivity, and disregard, and it will ribble, slow you down, and eventually break under pressure. Nourish it with proper care, exercise, and sleep, and it rewards you with energy, resilience, and vitality. The law is impartial. Neglect produces decay, while nourishment produces strength. Relationships also follow this universal principle. Time, attention, empathy, and care are the nourishment that keeps them alive. Neglect a friendship, a marriage, or a mentorship, and distance and resentment quietly grow. Feed them consistently, and bonds strengthen, trust deepens, and love multiplies. Relationships flourish in proportion to the attention and intention you invest. Even your skills, habits, and personal growth respond to this law. Consistency is the water, practice is the sunlight, and patience is the soil. Neglect your talents and watch them fade. Ignore your habits, and chaos quietly takes over. But dedicate yourself to deliberate practice, learning, and persistence, and you will harvest mastery, confidence, and momentum. The law is impartial. It does not care about excuses, intentions, or circumstances. It does not bend for laziness or plead for understanding. What you feed will grow, and what you ignore will die. There is no magic, no luck, no short-term workaround. The gardener who plants weeds hoping for roses will always be disappointed. The same holds true for your life. This truth gives you immense power because it means that growth is not random or accidental. You are in control. The seeds you choose to nurture today, knowledge, health, relationships, habits, will shape your tomorrow. The invisible law works silently, but relentlessly, producing results that either elevate or diminish your life. Every day ask yourself, what am I feeding? Am I nurturing thoughts that empower me, habits that strengthen me, and relationships that support me? Or am I feeding distractions, fear, and neglect that will grow into challenges, regret, and missed opportunities? Growth is not a gift, it is a choice. Nourishment is the vehicle, and discipline is the driver. Remember, life does not negotiate. You cannot wish for growth while neglecting the very things that produce it. Feed your mind, feed your body, feed your relationships, feed your skills, and you will grow in every meaningful direction. Neglect them, and decay is inevitable. What you feed grows, and the moment you embrace this truth, you gain the power to shape your destiny. Neglect is a silent tax on your life, a fee you pay without realizing it until it becomes unavoidable. Too many people go through life thinking that ignoring something, whether it's their health, their skills, or their relationships, will cost them nothing. But the law is clear and unyielding. Neglect has a price, and it is one that grows over time, quietly compounding, until one day it can no longer be ignored. Think about your mind. Every thought you ignore, every habit you fail to develop, every piece of knowledge you neglect to acquire is like an investment opportunity lost. Skills that could have grown with careful attention instead wither. Creativity and wisdom that could have been nurtured remain dormant. And the longer you leave your mind untended, the steeper the cost becomes, because the gap between where you are and where you could have been widens daily. Your body is no different. Neglecting your health may seem harmless in the short term. Skipping exercise, eating poorly, ignoring signs of fatigue or stress. These are small, seemingly insignificant choices. Yet over time, the price appears in subtle ways: low energy, weakened immunity, chronic discomfort, and eventually serious illness. The law does not discriminate, it simply responds. If you neglect the body, it will exact its fee. On the other hand, the same body, when nourished with care, becomes your strongest ally, capable of taking you further than you ever imagined. Relationships, too, are subject to the price of neglect. Time and attention are the currency of love, friendship, and trust. Ignore the people who matter to you. Take them for granted, or fail to communicate and nurture the bonds you share, and slowly, almost imperceptibly, the connection erodes. One day you may find yourself wondering how you became distant from those you once held close. Conversely, relationships that are nourished with care, patience, and understanding multiply their rewards. They become sources of support, joy, and inspiration that enrich your life far beyond what you could achieve alone. Neglect also shows up in your habits and personal growth. Skills you fail to practice, opportunities you pass up, ideas you fail to act on. All these represent a cost. Not immediate, perhaps, but inevitable. Life has a way of revealing the price of procrastination and inaction. The gap between those who nurture their talents and those who do not grows like a chasm. The world rewards those who pay attention, who act consistently, who refuse to allow their potential to stagnate. The truth is, neglect doesn't announce itself with fanfare. It creeps in quietly, often disguised as convenience, comfort, or distraction. It's easy to say, "I'll start tomorrow," or "I'll deal with it later." But tomorrow comes, and later becomes later still. The price accumulates silently until the moment arrives when it can no longer be ignored. An illness, a lost opportunity, a broken relationship, or a skill that has atrophied beyond repair. Yet there is hope, because the law is impartial. Just as neglect extracts its toll, nourishment pays its dividends. The moment you choose to act, to invest attention, time, and care, the cost of past neglect begins to diminish. Growth is possible at any stage, provided you decide to nurture what matters most. It may take effort, discipline, and patience, but the law remains faithful: what you feed will flourish. Remember, neglect has a price, and life is the bill collector, but you have the power to pay it before it becomes too steep. Attend to your mind, your body, your relationships, your skills. Feed them, nurture them, give them what they need to grow. Do this consistently, and the law that cannot be escaped becomes your ally, your pathway to growth, vitality, and lasting fulfillment. Transformation doesn't happen by accident. It doesn't come from wishing, hoping, or waiting for the right circumstances. Transformation comes from deliberate, consistent nourishment. Every area of your life responds to attention. Your mind, your body, your relationships, your skills, and your habits all grow stronger or weaker depending on what you feed them. Ignoring them might feel easier in the moment, but in the long run, neglect has a cost. Nourishment, on the other hand, has a reward that compounds over time. It's slow at first, but powerful, unstoppable, and permanent. Consider your mind. What you read, the conversations you engage in, the ideas you allow to dominate your thinking, all of these are seeds. If you fill your mind with negativity, gossip, and shallow distractions, you are planting weeds that will choke your potential. But if you nourish your mind with knowledge, learning, reflection, and inspiration, you cultivate wisdom and creativity. The more attention you give to expanding your mind, the more possibilities appear in your life. Growth doesn't happen by accident. It's the result of purposeful mental nourishment. Your body obeys the same law. Neglect it, and it resists you. Feed it poorly, avoid movement, and fail to rest, and it will falter. Nourish it with wholesome food, consistent exercise, and proper rest, and it will reward you with energy, strength, and vitality. The body is like a garden. If you don't water it, it dries out. If you do, it flourishes, and life becomes easier, richer, and more enjoyable. Your body is the vehicle that carries you toward your dreams. Without nourishment, the journey is difficult. With nourishment, it becomes a joy. Relationships, too, are governed by this law. A friendship, a partnership, a family bond left unattended slowly withers. Ignoring loved ones, failing to invest time and attention, leaves emptiness where connection should be. But when you nourish relationships with care, time, listening, and love, they grow stronger. They become sources of support, encouragement, and joy. Life is not meant to be lived in isolation. The people around us mirror the care we give them. Nurture these bonds, and they nurture you in return. Skills, habits, and personal growth are no different. Neglect leads to stagnation. You might be talented, capable, or intelligent, but without practice, improvement, and persistent effort, your potential remains dormant. Nourish your skills daily. Work on them, refine them, challenge yourself, and they will grow. Transformation occurs when you consistently put in the work, small, deliberate steps that compound into mastery. The law of nourishment versus neglect is unyielding. It doesn't care about excuses, good intentions, or comfort zones. It responds only to action. What you feed grows, what you ignore dies. Every day presents a choice. Will you invest in your mind, body, relationships, and skills, or will you neglect them? Life doesn't negotiate, but it does respond. Growth, fulfillment, and transformation are not mysterious. They are predictable results of consistent nourishment. If you want transformation, start small, but start daily. Read, learn, and expand your mind. Move, exercise, and care for your body. Invest time, love, and attention into your relationships. Practice and refine your skills. Be intentional with every action, because every moment you nourish, you grow. Every moment you neglect, decay takes root. Over time, the choices you make become the person you are and the life you live. Nourishment is the key to transformation. Neglect is the path to stagnation. Choose carefully, act consistently, and watch as your life changes in ways you once thought impossible. Growth, success, and fulfillment are not luck. They are the natural consequences of what you choose to feed. Life has a way of teaching lessons, whether we pay attention or not. One of the most important lessons is that there is a law in the universe that is impartial, unyielding, and unavoidable. This law doesn't care about your excuses, your wishes, or your intentions. It simply responds to your actions, or lack of them. It is the law of neglect versus nourish, and it governs every area of your life. Think about your mind. If you neglect it, if you allow it to fill with negativity, fear, or laziness, the consequences are inevitable. Your thoughts begin to control you instead of the other way around. Worry, stress, and confusion become daily companions. On the other hand, if you nourish your mind with knowledge, reflection, and positive ideas, it grows stronger, sharper, and more creative. The law is impartial. Growth or decay comes not from luck, but from what you feed. The same law applies to your body. Your body is your vehicle for life, and it follows the principle without question. If you neglect it, if you skip exercise, eat poorly, or refuse to rest, it will break down. You will feel tired, weak, and unprepared for the challenges life throws your way. But if you nourish it with proper food, regular movement, and adequate rest, it becomes a source of energy, resilience, and confidence. The law is impartial. It doesn't care what you want. It only responds to what you do. Relationships obey this law as well. If you neglect your family, friends, or colleagues, distance grows, trust erodes, and resentment settles in. You may think that love, loyalty, or friendship will survive without attention, but the law is impartial. It simply reacts to neglect with consequences. Nourish your relationships with time, understanding and care, and they flourish. Support grows, bonds strengthen, and communities form that will carry you through life's trials. The law does not bend for your convenience. Even your skills, habits, and personal growth are subject to this law. Neglect your talents, avoid practice, and fail to invest in yourself, and stagnation becomes your companion. But nourish your abilities with consistent effort, learning, and persistence, and doors open where none existed. Opportunities multiply, and your life begins to expand in ways that seem almost magical. Yet this magic is not luck. It is the impartial response of the law to nourishment. Here's the key: the law does not judge. It does not consider who you are, where you come from, or how much potential you have. It simply works. Every day you choose to neglect, decay happens a little more. Every day you choose to nourish, growth happens a little more. Small actions compound over time into results that are profound, lasting, and inevitable. The impartial law asks one question of you: what will you feed? Will you neglect and watch as opportunities, health, and relationships diminish? Or will you nourish and see them grow beyond your expectations? There is no escape from this law, no loophole, no substitute. What you give attention to grows. What you ignore dies. The choice is yours. The law is impartial, but your action is not. Feed your mind with wisdom. Feed your body with care. Feed your relationships with love. Feed your talents with discipline. Do it consistently, and life rewards you beyond measure. Ignore it, and life will teach you lessons you could have avoided. The law doesn't care about your excuses. It only responds to your decisions. Remember this every day: the law is impartial. Neglect has consequences. Nourishment has rewards. Life is simple, but not easy. Your future is shaped by what you choose to feed today. We all have dreams, visions, and ideas. We all have moments where we think, one day I will, or I really should. But here is a truth that too many of us fail to grasp: intention alone changes nothing. Wishing for success, hoping for growth, or planning without action is like planting seeds and never watering them. You cannot expect fruit from a tree you refuse to tend. Action beats intention every single time. Action is the bridge between who you are and who you want to become. You can have all the motivation in the world, all the ideas, all the plans, but until you act, nothing changes. Action is the currency that life recognizes. It is what separates dreamers from achievers, thinkers from doers, and potential from reality. Without action, intention is empty. With action, intention becomes reality. Too often, people wait for the perfect moment to start. They wait for the right circumstances, the right mood, or the right resources. Let me tell you something Jim Rohn taught over and over: there is no perfect moment. The perfect time to act is now. Small, imperfect steps taken today are far more powerful than perfect plans that never leave your mind. Action does not wait for readiness. Readiness comes through action. Consider your personal growth. You may intend to learn to read or to improve your skills. But if you never open the book, never practice the skill, never push yourself beyond comfort, your intention remains a dream. Growth is not a product of good intentions. It is the result of consistent, disciplined action. Each step you take compounds. Each effort, no matter how small, builds momentum. This is the law that cannot be escaped, but action leads to results. Action beats intention in health as well. You may intend to eat better, exercise more, or take care of your body. But without doing the work, nothing changes. Sitting in front of the TV thinking about going for a run will never give you strength. Choosing to move, to nourish, and to care for your body, even imperfectly, begins the transformation. Small actions accumulate into lifelong habits, and habits determine the quality of your life. Relationships obey the same rule. You may intend to love, support, and connect with those around you. But until you act, until you call, visit, listen, or help, the intention means nothing. Connection is built in moments through tangible acts of care. The person you want to be in the lives of others is created not by what you plan, but by what you do. The beauty of action is that it teaches lessons that intention never can. When you act, you encounter resistance, failure, and challenge. These are not setbacks. They are the classroom of life. Every mistake, every effort, every step taken teaches you something invaluable. You cannot learn from mere intention. You can only learn from doing. So, let today be the day you understand this law. Your intentions are important. They set direction. But they are powerless without action. Take the first step, no matter how small. Do something today that your future self will thank you for. Action beats intention because it is measurable, real, and transformative. It turns thoughts into results, plans into progress, and dreams into reality. Remember this, the world rewards doers, not wishers. Success, growth, and fulfillment come to those who act, persist, and refuse to be paralyzed by indecision. Intentions set the vision, action creates the outcome. Do not wait. Do not hope. Take action now and watch as your intentions finally bear the fruit they were meant to produce. Life is full of choices, and each choice is like planting a seed. Some seeds grow into towering trees that provide shade, shelter, and fruit. Others wither and die, leaving barren soil behind. Every day, you are faced with decisions, big and small, and each one carries consequences. The simple truth is this: you choose what you nurture and neglect what you ignore. This is a law you cannot escape. The soil of your life responds to what you feed it. Choose wisely every day. If you neglect your mind, if you fill it with negativity, doubt, or idle thoughts, it becomes a barren field. Opportunities shrink, creativity disappears, and the energy to act fades. On the other hand, if you nourish your mind with knowledge, reflection, and deliberate learning, it blossoms. Your mind becomes a powerful tool capable of solving problems, creating opportunities, and producing ideas that can transform your life. The choice is yours. Your body, too, follows the same principle. Neglect it with poor habits, laziness, or careless indulgence, and it begins to fail. Energy declines, health suffers, and the simplest tasks become burdens. But when you nurture it through proper nutrition, exercise, and rest, it becomes your ally. A strong, healthy body allows you to pursue your dreams with vigor and stamina. Every action you take today, every habit you form, is either a seed of growth or a seed of decay. Relationships are equally affected by the choices you make. Time and attention are currencies of love, trust, and connection. If you neglect the people who matter, family, friends, colleagues, the bond weakens. Distance, misunderstanding, and resentment creep in. But when you intentionally nurture relationships with care, communication, and support, they thrive. You create a network of support and collaboration that lifts you higher than you could rise alone. Even your skills, habits, and personal growth follow this same universal law. Neglect them, and stagnation sets in. Your potential remains dormant, locked behind inaction. Nourish them, and you begin to grow in competence, confidence, and capability. Every day you choose practice, effort, and learning. You are choosing a life of progression over a life of regret. Growth does not happen by chance. It happens by choice. And here is the beauty and challenge of life. The law of nurture and neglect is impartial. It does not care about excuses, intentions, or desires. It does not reward hope alone. What you do matters far more than what you wish. Every decision you make is either feeding what matters or starving it. Success, health, and happiness are not accidents. They are the natural outcome of consistent choices made wisely. So, today, pause and reflect on your choices. Where are you neglecting your life? What is starving for attention, care, and action? And more importantly, where can you pour your energy to nourish growth, vitality, and opportunity? The law is steady, predictable, and unavoidable. You can either obey it consciously or feel its consequences unconsciously. There is no escaping it. Choosing wisely every day is not about perfection. It's about awareness and intentional action. It's about understanding that every thought, habit, relationship, and skill is a seed. Some days the work is small, other days it requires effort. But each choice adds up. Life is the sum of these daily decisions. Plant wisely, feed what matters. Pay attention to what you ignore. Over time, the results will be undeniable. Remember, the law of neglect versus nourish does not sleep, it does not negotiate, and it does not forget. You are either feeding your future or starving it. The power is in your hands. Choose wisely every day, and your life will grow in ways you cannot yet imagine. Neglect and regret will quietly follow. Nourish and success, health and fulfillment will become the natural fruit of your labor.